all of you. Finally, we are getting into the writing of the body of an essay. So I think this is something that has troubled all of you, and maybe this is always there in your mind. And it's one of those challenges that you are scared to get into and address. Fine then, this video should take care of all of that problems. How to write the body of an essay, how to write the core of the essay. That's what we call this as a part of this module, diving deep into essays writing. So this is where the actual thinking of the essay to develop the ideas, to develop the structured content starts off. The body of the essay is approximately 60, 70, sometimes even 80% of your particular essay. If you remember the ROCA principle we talked about, ROCA, where we said the good qualities of essays are the essay should be relevant to the topic asked, the essay should be well organized, the essay should have clarity and coherence of thoughts, and the essay must have analysis component. So while discussing the structure of the essay, the body essentially is all about structuring the essay properly and also about ensuring that you are analytical in your write-up. So under the ROCA principle, the body must be able to organize the ideas well and also give deep insights into whatever you're writing. I'm assuming that the writing itself is relevant to the topic asked with good language, clarity, and coherence. What does the body of the essay try to do? The body must reflect the ideas that you have in a very refined way. Okay, and the ideas must also be part of exhibiting your critical thinking. I should be elaborating your insights, your understanding of the issues. And all the ideas that you have, you must support those with evidences. The body of the essay should have these three aspects around the topic asked. Number one, I said, it should show that you have a refined understanding of the concept with good amount of critical thinking. And of course, whatever evidences you can develop in support of the essay. To explain the process, I use this concept called as the golden circle. There's a very famous motivational speaker who also talks about organization of companies, who talks about how to align a company towards best sustainable practices. Simon Sinek. Simon Sinek talks about this concept of golden circle. And whatever you do should be organized around why, how, and what. And at the core of whatever you do, you must have the why. So also in the essays writing, the body writing, the why part is a very important part of understanding and making an essay relevant. So what does the essay body demand out of you? Why should you write the way you should write? We'll focus on that first. The why of the essay. If you recall, in the previous modules when I was discussing what is the purpose of essays in UPSC, I had shown you that the essays topics are shifting towards philosophical topics. The essays topics are shifting towards abstract topics. And the shift has a purpose to it. The shift tells us that the writing should not be about current affairs alone. It should not be about pumping knowledge and not about language alone. Through the shift in philosophical essays, the UPSC is trying to test not what you know, but how you think, assessing your maturity and your worldview, assessing your ethical compass, okay, testing your ability to handle complexities. So the body of the essay, the actual write-up, should reflect these aspects. So when I say why of the body implies that whatever you write, ensure that you are able to demonstrate these aspects of your personality. Many students are always about, sir, how to write, how to add words, how to write 10 pages, how to fill up the paragraphs. Don't go with that objective. The objective is not to fill paragraphs. The objective is not to write more dimensions. The objective is not to add more evidences. The objective is that you should be able to demonstrate some aspects of your personality. So keeping that in mind, we have this set of techniques on how you can develop your particular essay's body. So the why of the body of the essay is essentially demonstrating your analytical skills, demonstrating your problem-solving attitude and ability, demonstrating your political neutrality. It's a very important point. Many of you understand that the idea of balance of essay is not simply writing positives and negatives. It's about demonstrating your political neutrality, your organizing ability, and importantly, showcasing your empathy, okay, your thinking around issues which are of social significance, your thinking around issues which concerns development objectives of the country. So if you have this in mind, then you can develop the body of the essay a bit more relevant to the UPSC's demand and why they want you to write an essay. So keep this aspect, okay, the golden circle basis of how to develop the body of the essay. I'll talk about the how aspects later on. Let me focus on the what aspects first. The what of the body implies, okay, how do you sequence your ideas, the language that you have, use subheadings, and underlining important insights. So the what of the body is around your presentation skills. So in the previous one, I was telling you why you must have the body in the way we're discussing. The why is that the body must demonstrate your personality. The body must demonstrate your ability of thinking and problem solving. And you must present that in a certain way, a logical flow of ideas, decent language, use subheading so that your ideas are clearly established, and underline whatever important insights you have. And this what aspect of the essay, I'm coming from the initial discussion where I said the body of the essay is just about 700 to 800 words. You cannot write more than this. The time that you have is just about less than 1 hour for actual writing. For less than 1 hour, if you write down, you must think, apply. You cannot write more than 700, 800 words. And you have to ensure that the body is within 8 to 10 pages. You don't have as much time or as much of content to elaborate more. So if you look at the constraint that we must write within 700, 800 words and write within 8 to 10 pages, okay, it's important that you appreciate that you cannot afford to write more than 4, 5, 6 dimensions. Because when you take up a dimension, you take up one aspect of discussion, you must discuss it properly. You must elaborate it properly. If you take up an idea and just write 30 words, you will not be able to express and explain that concept properly. If you take up one idea and write 500 words, the essay is over. So keeping in mind the time that you have and the words that you can write down, okay, you should not attempt more than 5 or 6 dimensions. And each dimension about 100 to 150 words. So I'm looking at each dimension written in about 1 to 2 pages maximum. You can't go beyond this. So I hope I've explained the why of the body, okay, and I've explained the what of the body. Now let's come to the how of the body. How will you develop the essay's body? What are the techniques of generating ideas? What are the techniques of diving deep into the particular essay? So the task that you have is you fix the why and then develop the presentation and have some technique of developing and elaborating the points that you want to write on. Now the techniques of generating ideas and diving deep. Technique number 1, I think this is one of the most popular methods, the PESTEL principle. The PESTEL, PESTEL, stands for political dimension, economic dimension, social dimension, ecological dimension. You also have technological dimension and the legal dimension. If you can cover these 5 dimensions, these 5 aspects of a topic, we call that as a PESTEL principle. Take up a topic, write about the political relevance, write about the economic relevance, and so on. The PESTEL is one of the most popular methods of how to elaborate a topic. Say I take up this topic called as urbanization and its hazards, a 2008 topic. This slide has the PESTEL dimensions around which the essay of this topic can be developed. Under political hazard, you can see we have talked about the problems of coordination between center and local bodies, urban governance, urban planning, urban development projects. Economic aspects includes unemployment, urban inflation, problems of poverty, inequality, problems related to the informal economy. The social aspects includes crime problems, housing problems, crowding problems. The technological aspects about the digital divide, unplanned, okay, tech-based surveillance affecting privacy, poor maintenance of the technological infrastructure, environmental problems around pollution, heat island, waste management, and the legal issues around weak enforcement, rise of illegal constructions, inefficient implementation of environmental laws. So I'm assuming your GS will come very handy here. You just have to pick up the political aspect, the economic aspect, the social aspect, the technological aspect, environment aspects, the legal aspect. If you have this aspect, you have covered the essay largely. Look at another topic, 2008, special economic zones. Are they a boon or a bane? Again, we try to elaborate this using the PESTEL dimension. Look at this slide now. So I have discussed the political aspect. What is the boon? What are the bane? Boon are the positives, bane are the negative. The economic aspect, what's the boon? What's the bane? Social aspect, the boon and the bane. I'll suggest you can pause this video here and see this screen a bit more thoroughly. How you can discuss boon or bane, okay, and develop this into elaborate discussion across dimension. This is a classic example of an argumentative topic where you must discuss both the pros and cons and ultimately maybe establish whatever dimension or whatever stand you want to put forward. That they, okay, all said and done, SEZs are a boon, but we must be careful about the negative aspects also. So pause this particular slide or the video, read this properly, and ask yourself if you can handle this, if you have it as a part of a proper essay writing. Another topic is the criticism that public-private partnership model of development is more of a bane than boon in the Indian context. So again, a bane-boon debate, and the topic is right about the public-private partnership. Okay. So again, the same thing. There's a political dimension. What's the boon? What's the bane? The economic aspects. What's the boon? What's the bane? And I've covered all the dimensions here. Rather than me just reading out, I'll suggest you pause this screen, pause the video, read this, and make some jottings. How using these points you can elaborate a particular essay. The PESTEL principle. But if you look at the PESTEL principle, while it is very good for topical essays, it's very good for essays which has a direct link with your current affairs, direct link to the GS topics, the PESTEL principle is not very effective if you're writing on a purely philosophical topic, a topic that has more of introspection, a topic that has more of reflection. Look at these topics. Okay, these are topics of last 2 odd years. History is a series of victories won by scientific man over romantic man. Now, to write this essay using PESTEL principle will be tough. A ship in the harbor is safe, but that is not what ship is for. I'm not saying you can't have PESTEL aspect, but to develop the essay on PESTEL principles will, okay, somewhere force it to become not as engaging. It'll be kind of forcing ideas rather than organically developing ideas. Or you cannot step twice in the same river. Okay, this again, to write on PESTEL principle becomes tricky. So PESTEL principle is very good for topics which are linked to GS. Okay, can tourism be the next big thing? Okay, the problem of education, the problem of women issues, the challenges around environment, topic on geopolitics. But when it comes to philosophical topics, PESTEL principle may not be the best way. Like I said, don't force the points under PESTEL principle. Okay, so you can have another technique. The technique 2 is where you can think on the topic using questions. You can take the topic and questions around what, who, where, when, why, how. If you can generate questions, okay, it helps you elaborate the topic a bit more smartly. So another technique of writing a good essay, apart from the PESTEL technique, is generating questions. Questions on what, who, where, how, when, why. This helps you give you a broad range of issues that you want to cover. Say, for example, okay, this topic, is egalitarian society possible by educating the masses? It's a 2008 topic. Okay, and I'm trying to generate questions on this. I'm using the interrogative words: why, what, how. So on this particular topic, I have asked questions. Why should a society be egalitarian? Who will educate the masses? Why is education important for egalitarian society? What is an egalitarian society? Is it possible to educate everybody in society? So I have taken the topic here and I've generated questions around this topic. Okay, and my essay will be answering these questions. Each question can be subheading, write about it. Each question subheading and write about it. So one is you generate topic using PESTEL principle. Second is generate topic using the questions principle. However, there's one problem, that when you generate these questions, okay, the questions do not look like they are actually inquiring on the topic. So when I ask a question, why should a society be egalitarian? I've picked up the word egalitarian and I've asked a question on that. Who will educate the masses? I've taken up the word masses, education, and I have a question around that. So the questions I'm asking are merely picking up keywords from the topic, and there's every possibility that the questions asked are no longer relevant to the topic. It looks more like I'm writing the essay on disjointed words from the topic. I'll end up explaining what is an egalitarian society. I'll explain whether India is egalitarian or not. And the focus of the topic, however, was how does education create egalitarian mass? How does education create an egalitarian society? So this essay is not on simply egalitarian society. It's about to tell us how education can give us an egalitarian society. Egalitarian essentially means a society which is fair, which is just, where there's equality, where there is no discrimination, where there's no exploitation. Everybody gets fair wages, everybody has fair access to resources. How does education help that? So while generating questions, I have to be careful that I generate questions on the topic. I don't generate questions on one single word. Look at this topic. This is a 2010 topic. In the Indian context, both human intelligence and the technical intelligence are crucial in combating terrorism. The questions I've asked is, what is intelligence? Why do we have terrorism? When does terrorism start? How can we stop terrorism? What's the difference between human and technical intelligence? Again, the same problem. Although I have generated the questions, the fact is, the questions do not look like I'm asking on the topic. What I'm doing is, I'm taking up some words from the topic and then making questions. It's possible I will lose the topic. I'll end up writing the entire essay on what is terrorism, who started terrorism, how are we affected by terrorism, rather than writing how human and technical intelligence both are crucial for combating terrorism. So when I'm generating questions, I must be careful about that aspect. You might end up writing an essay on all the dimensions of terrorism rather than how the technical and the human intelligence together can deal terrorism. So there is a way out. How to make the questions technique work. Now, this is an important technique. That is, when you make questions, what you do is make sure each question has all the keywords of that particular topic. So in the previous ones, what I'm doing is, in the previous ones that I was showing you, okay, say the keywords of this topic was what? The keywords or topic is Indian context. The keyword is human intelligence. The keyword is technical intelligence. The keywords or phrases combating terrorism. In this question, I have only the word intelligence. I don't have the word Indian. I don't have the word terrorism. In this question, I have the word terrorism. I don't have the word Indian. I don't have the word intelligence. So what I must do is, I must frame questions where every question has all the keywords. Okay. So in this topic, I said, okay, or look at the first one, the first topic. Is egalitarian society possible by educating the masses? So this topic, the key phrases are egalitarian society and educating the masses. So now when I'm framing the questions, I'm ensuring the question has both egalitarian society in the question and also education of the masses in the same question. Rather than asking what is an egalitarian society, and now I'm asking why for an egalitarian society, education of the masses is important. Are there other type of interventions other than education that can be taken up for making a society egalitarian? For egalitarian society, what is it that education does that other types of interventions like law enforcement, economic growth cannot? So if you compare what I was discussing in the previous set of questions, look at this one. In this question, I was making a question, why should a society be egalitarian? In this question, the education word was missing. Why should we educate the masses? In this question, the egalitarian word was missing. So what I'm doing now is, now I'm framing questions so that every question has both the words. You look at all the questions. Okay. Where all has education of the masses help in developing an egalitarian society? What are the examples? So to ensure that you don't miss the topic, you don't end up writing on one idea of the topic, you identify the keywords and make questions using all the keywords in the same topic. Okay. And then what you do is, you sequence the topic. I have the question number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But this is not the logical sequence of the questions. I'm resequencing that I will ask question number 1 first. Then I will ask question number 6 as second question. Then I will ask question number 2 as a third question. Then I will ask question number 3 as the fourth question. So now what I've done is, I have broken up the topic. I have the dimensions with me. And when I'm sequencing the topics again, I'm getting the logical flow of the essay. So while we generate the questions, what we get is, we get the dimensions around which the essay can be developed. Plus, I also get the logical sequence of how the question should be asked in the essay. Dimensions gives me the ideas to discuss. The logical sequence gives me the structure to discuss. What is the arrangement of the ideas, logical flow of the ideas? Look at this question again. This topic, 2000, same topic. In the Indian context, both in human intelligence and the technical intelligence are crucial in combating terrorism. So in this particular topic, the keywords are Indian context. The key phrase is human intelligence. The key phrase is technical intelligence. The key phrase is combating terrorism. All the questions I will ask must have all the four. What role does the synergy between human intelligence and technical intelligence play in counter-terrorism strategy in India? All the key phrases are used. How effectively has India integrated human intelligence and technical intelligence in responding to evolving patterns of terrorism? Why is the balance between intelligence and technical intelligence critical in the long-term fight against terrorism in India? So make questions such that each question has all the keywords. Again, I suggest pause the video, study the questions, see how I'm framing the questions. And then after you have done this, you can sequence it. Okay, don't sequence while generating the points. Sequence after generating the points. So the first question is logically my first one. Okay, then the fourth question is logically my second one. The second question is logically my third one. Okay. The sixth question is logically my fourth one. Of course, you can disagree and rearrange it. Some of you might feel, no, I think the third question logically is the second one. Fine. So again, I am developing dimensions. Okay. Plus, I am also logically organizing them. So this is one technique of how to develop dimensions, how to develop the relevant points as a part of your essays writing. Summarizing this particular technique, okay, is first try simple questions, what, where, how type. Then you generate the more relevant questions. Relevant questions as in keep all the questions of the topic in the question and generate those questions. And then you sequence the questions. I hope this part of the technique is fairly understandable to all of you now. Okay. The idea was that you have to generate dimensions. You have to generate what are the ways how you can develop the components of the body. And this is possible by the PESTEL technique. And second is you can use the technique of generating the questions. So I have some more examples for you in this particular video. Okay, I've just shown two topics. So I have one of the topic, 2015 topic. Education without values is rather to make a man more clever devil. This was a 2015 topic. That if we educate somebody and don't impart values to him, if we don't have moral education, if we don't teach ethics, the man with the education will become a clever devil. Rather than become a wise man, a good man, he becomes a clever devil. Okay. So look at how I have developed it. In this particular topic, the key phrases were education, without values, and clever devil. Using all the three words, add what, where, how, when, and make questions. Can education without values be considered progress if it merely equips a man to become a more clever devil? Is the rise of white-collar crimes, okay, in a society reflection of education systems that produce clever devils while ignoring values? How does the society suffer when the education focuses solely on skills and intellect, but forget values, creating clever devils instead of ethical leaders? Could it be that the modern world obsessed with competitive education is unknowingly nurturing an army of clever devils due to absence of values? So absence of values, okay, forgets values, ignores values, education without values, you are seeing getting repeated. और हर क्वेश्चन में education है, clever devil है, and living out values है. So that's the technique of developing dimensions, okay, and creating questions from a particular topic. Look at another example. Empires of the futures will be empires of the mind. All of you, I'll always suggest pause the video. Do not mechanically see the video, or maybe see the video 2 or 3 times, because every slide has a lot of content. Okay, you have the luxury, you have the advantage of reviewing the videos, watching the video again, pausing the video, making notes, do all of that. Okay, so this was 2024 topic, empires the futures, empires of the mind. So again, in this topic, the key phrases are empires of the future and empires of the mind. By the way, look up module 2, where I have used this topic to paraphrase also. So I'm using the common topic so that you have a sense of continuity in the techniques that you learn. So all the 5 questions. In a world where physical empires are declining, the empires of the future, okay, truly being built in the mind through ideas and innovations. Can nations fail to invest in cultivation of the mind and still hope to lead the empires of the future? Are empires of the future being shaped more by intellectual capital or by military economic power? How digital revolutions and knowledge networks redefining the empires of the mind in the context of the future? Every question has all the keywords, and you're framing the questions. See, one of the concerns students have when I teach the technique is, sir, how will I write on this? See, the actual writing is another exercise. The actual essay writing is another exercise. Here I'm teaching you how to have the headings or dimensions. How will you think is the point. The idea is that if you know what to think on, you can start reading on that. If you know, okay, this dimension must be developed, you can accordingly prepare yourself. So even if you do not know the answers to these questions, in any case, you must not answer all the questions. I told you, no, when I started this particular module, I said that in the body, you cannot afford to have more than 4, 5, 6 dimensions. Dimensions are those broad ideas on which the essay is developed. So what I'm doing here is I'm giving you ways how to generate all the dimensions and then pick up the 4 or 5 of them that are best according to you for your essay. So you have developed 5, 6 dimensions from PESTEL principle. You have developed 4, 5, 6 dimensions from the question technique. And from that, just pick up totally 4 or 5 dimensions. Your essay need not be comprehensive essay. You need not write all the topics. The idea is the essay must have a sense of completion. Important points must be discussed, but don't end up discussing all the dimensions, all the questions, or all the possible perspectives through which the topic can be discussed. So don't get worried about how to write about all the points. Here the idea is how to generate the points. That's what I'm discussing. And once you know how to generate the points, you'll also learn eventually and read more, maybe look up some references. If you practice this across 6, 7, 10 essays, your essay writing technique will now get established. So don't worry whether you have the points or not. You focus on how to develop dimensions. Like I'm repeatedly saying, you will not write an essay right now. You're only learning how to develop the dimensions on which the essay must be written. So back to our examples and conversation. I have discussed 2 techniques of how to develop dimensions. Now, how to have better dimensions and how to score that 140 plus target, how to score 135. So for that, we have another technique of getting deeper inside the topic. Remember that you are being tested for how you think. You are being tested for intellectual maturity. You are being tested for ethical compass and how to handle complexities. Okay, so PESTEL principle and the technique of question generation is just one technique. The next technique is what I call as the nudge effect. Nudge means push. Nudge means that extra dimensions you can add. Nudge is about how to create deeper dimensions. The nudge effect in the essay, that extra push so that your essay rises up to a higher level. You can do that by referring to historical context examples, philosophical context you can give. You can compare global versus the local dimensions and implications, and give reasoning through empirical evidences. So this is another way of thinking of the topic. Write the topic from the historical perspective. Sometime in the past, something has happened. Maybe somewhere the history, that particular idea or the concept was relevant. See if you can discuss the philosophical dimension of that particular topic. For this, I will have another video. I'll explain what I mean by philosophical dimension. That particular topic, is it relevant at a global say issues, or is it relevant at local issues? Think on that. And give good evidences, give good examples, give good logical reasons. So again, re-emphasizing historical examples, relevant contemporary global and national affairs issues. The evidences can be taken from movies and books. You can refer to a movie, okay, where this particular thing was relevant. You can refer to a book where the topic was relevant. And I said, give the philosophical context. Let me demonstrate this for you now. Say this topic. Okay. In the Indian context, both human intelligence and technical intelligence are crucial in combating terrorism. So I've discussed this from the historical context. I have taken Kargil War, how India lacked timely technical surveillance like satellite imagery. Okay, we had a weak technical intelligence. I've taken example from Mumbai attacks, where although we intercepted phone calls, but we did not act on the technical intelligence. We missed signals, we lacked coordination. A philosophical aspect, that intelligence is about understanding human intent. Okay, so human intelligence must work along with the technical intelligence. We must capture emotions, motivations. Technical intelligence can capture patterns and tools, and how together they can help us solve terrorism. A global example, how Osama bin Laden was ultimately neutralized. They used drone surveillance, satellite surveillance, plus they also used informers, spies, and together they tracked him down and they took him out. So in terrorism, say interventions, no one single technique will work. I've taken a movie, okay, Uri, the surgical strike, a movie called Razi. Okay, and again, pause this particular slide and read it. How I've taken up an example from a movie and shown how the human and the technical intelligence both are important if I want to solve the problem of terrorism. I hope you all are able to relate the concepts now. The idea is you want dimensions. The dimensions, you have to help your mind to think under different heads. Another topic, is an egalitarian society possible by educating the masses? You have done the PESTEL technique on this. You have done the question techniques. Now, very specifically, the historical context. Okay, how Nehru saw mass education as the basis of educating the masses. How Ambedkar saw education as the basis of educating the masses and developing a more equal society. Okay, right to education is a very important part. Philosophical aspect. Okay, egalitarian means dignity for all, opportunity for all. Education can awaken the mind. Okay. Education has to be inclusive, value-based. Equality must be the purpose. So I have discussed the topic from philosophical mind. Global example, the Nordic countries like Finland. Finland is a good example of good education. How free and equal education for all has helped reduce income gaps. And I've taken two examples from movies, Tare Zameen Par, but a better example is Neel Batte Sannata. See, I'm not saying that you must have watched these movies, but if you have watched some movies, if you've read some books, it makes your essay more rich. It makes your essay a bit more engaging because the range of discussions are broad. And I'm not just mentioning the movie, I'm discussing. In this movie, look at the description. It offers a profound commentary on how education, when made accessible to most marginalized, can challenge inherited social hierarchies and disrupt cycles of poverty. Like in this movie, the story of a mother, the journey inspires not only her daughter, but also a wider community trapped in resignation. Okay, an egalitarian society cannot be built by merely offering education in form. It must also be meaningful and inclusive. The film suggests that when education is driven by equity, then elitism, it has the power to reimagine class structures. So don't just mention the movie, discuss the movie. Okay. So this is about relating how you can uh, develop the topic, okay, from whatever you have seen or read, whatever you have experienced, develop the topic around that, not a mechanical writing of pumping words alone. This is another example. Okay. Education without values is rather to make a man more clever devil. Historical context, in an example, I've taken example of Vijay Mallya, the king of good times, good education from St. Xavier's College. Okay, how he was a clever man. Okay, his failure was not due to ignorance. It was because of his cleverness that was devoid of moral restraint. I've given the philosophical dimension to this. Okay, how Socrates talked about, or Vivekananda talked about, that we must sharpen the mind, but sharp the mind with ethical dimensions. The importance of intelligence and values, both are important. Okay. And then in the global context, okay, we know about some frauds by big companies like Enron or Cambridge Analytica, where brilliant minds worked, but without ethics. And this time I have used the example of a book, The White Tiger by Arvind Adiga. Okay. How in this book, a man rises with education, but then ultimately he becomes a clever devil. Education makes him ambitious, but without an ethical framework. So please scroll back, read the examples, make your notes, understand the technique. That's more important than actually writing the essay right now. So these 5-6 examples that I have given you, okay, this is essentially about teaching you how you can write the essay and develop dimensions. How can you start your mind to start thinking? So writing will happen later. Okay, this video is about how to dive deep, how to take up a topic and elaborate it, how to generate dimensions. Okay, read all the slides again. Finally, summarizing this particular video. So there are 3 techniques of generating dimensions. There are 3 techniques of developing the body. The PESTEL technique, where you try to touch various dimensions, political, economic, social, and so on. Generate questions, what, where, who, why, when. But make sure the questions you generate are relevant questions. For that, I said each question must have all the keywords of the topic. And finally, go deep. Go deep with, in an example. Go deep with philosophical reference. Go deep by referring to a book or a movie. Go deep by giving a global example, okay, and also in an example. So this is the a video, I think, where you should have now started thinking on that there are possible ways how the topic can be opened up. There are possible techniques where you can start exploring how to generate the points. Again, I'm repeatedly telling this to you. You are not in a state of writing essays right now. Just understand the techniques. See the video again and take up some previous year's questions and try these techniques across those topics. Try this technique across the previous topics and see how it works. And on the Telegram channel, do share your work, ask us your doubts, connect with us at the end of the week for the interactive mentoring session with I and Dave. See you all in the next video. In this module, we would have covered all aspects of how to dive deep and how to generate dimensions for your essays.